Adesawa was the type of woman who turned heads the moment she stepped into a room. At 27, she was tall, light-skinned, with a body that carried its own story, an inverted triangle shape, broad shoulders, a flat stomach, slim waist, and legs that seemed to go on forever. She dressed like her Instagram feed. Bold but intentional, never trying too hard, but always hitting the mark. Over 500,000 people followed her online, liking her gym videos, saving her fashion reels, and commenting heart emojis under every post. Yet, offline, Adesawa was softer, quieter, especially when it came to matters of the heart. Beside her, in nearly every post and every outing, was Amaka. Amaka was her opposite in looks but her equal in presence. Dark-skinned, glowing, and effortlessly confident, Amaka's curves were impossible to ignore. Her hips swayed with a rhythm that seemed to command attention, and her bum, full, rounded, and the kind of figure sculptors in another lifetime would have built statues for, often became the subject of strangers' stares. She was loud where Adesawa was reserved, bold where Adesawa hesitated, but together, they balanced each other. They were best friends, sisters without blood, partners in everything from content creation to gym sessions. People often said they were inseparable, but Adesawa knew the truth. They were different enough to clash but close enough to hold on. They met years ago, chasing the same dream of becoming big in Lagos influencer scene. And somewhere between shared photo shoots and editing late-night TikToks, they had built a bond that felt unbreakable. That Saturday morning, the gym pulsed with its usual rhythm. Afrobeats booming from the speakers, weights clanking on the floor, and men grunting under the pressure of lifted steel. Adesawa adjusted her black sports bra and high-waisted leggings, her long braids tied back neatly. Amaka, in contrast, wore shorts that hugged her curves like they were designed for her alone, paired with a neon crop top that left little to the imagination. They found their usual spot near the mirrors, side by side. And that was when Adesawa saw him. Toby. The man who had managed to take root in her thoughts from the very first day she spotted him across the gym. Toby. Tall, about 6 foot, with that easy confidence some men carried without even trying. His t-shirt clung to his chest just enough to show the work he put in, but it wasn't just his body that made her stare. It was the way he moved. Calm, steady, focused. The kind of presence that pulled attention without demanding it. He wasn't one of those loud guys grunting with every rep or checking himself out in the mirror. He was quiet, composed. And when Adesawa's eyes landed on him, it was like the music dimmed and everything else blurred. She looked away quickly, but it was too late. He was already in her head. Later, when she and Amaka moved to the treadmill, Adesawa couldn't help sneaking another glance. Amaka, her best friend, noticed instantly. She always did. Amaka was the bold one, the confident one. She smirked, nudging Adesawa playfully. "Who are you eyeing like that?" Amaka teased, her voice low but mischievous. "Nobody," Adesawa muttered too quickly, eyes glued to the treadmill screen. "Lies," Amaka laughed, adjusting her ponytail. "Your eyes keep finding that fine boy over there." Adesawa bit her lip. She hated how transparent she was around Amaka. But maybe that was why they worked so well as friends. Amaka had known her long enough to read every silence, every blush. The rest of her workout that day was a blur. Adesawa's mind wandered, building little daydreams she knew were ridiculous. She imagined Toby walking over, asking if she needed a spot, maybe complimenting her form. She imagined them sharing a laugh, then maybe leaving the gym together, stopping for smoothies. She imagined him following her on Instagram, sliding into her DMs with something casual like, "Hey gym partner." But reality was quieter. He didn't look at her. At least, not that she noticed. And still, the thought of him stayed with her long after she left the gym. That night, lying on her bed, Adesawa did what she knew she shouldn't. She searched for him on Instagram. It took only a few minutes. Lagos gym people all seemed connected somehow. And there he was. Toby. His profile wasn't private, which felt like an invitation. Scroll after scroll, she fell deeper. Travel photos in Ghana, clips of him working out, motivational quotes that made him seem thoughtful, even playful videos on TikTok that showed he didn't take himself too seriously. She caught herself smiling at her phone like a teenager. Liking posts silently, never commenting, just watching. She knew it was silly, but it felt like her secret world. A world where Toby wasn't just a man across the gym, but someone she could imagine knowing, someone she could imagine choosing her. By the end of the week, she had turned even her gym visits into rehearsals. Adesawa picked her outfits carefully now. The fitted pink leggings that made her waist look smaller, the cropped top that flattered her shoulders, even her neon sneakers that drew just enough attention. She timed her workouts around when she noticed he was usually there. She wasn't stalking, not really. At least, that's what she told herself. She was just positioning. But every time she looked at him, her chest tightened. And every time she looked away, she hated how nervous she felt. For all her followers online, for all her curated images and bold captions, here she was, tongue-tied in the presence of one man. One evening, as they cooled down outside the gym, Amaka teased her about it. Adesawa tried to brush it off at first, but the weight of her secret finally slipped out. She confessed quietly, almost like saying it too loudly might make it real. It was Toby. She liked him. More than liked him. For a moment, Amaka just stared, before breaking into a knowing grin, the kind only a best friend could wear. She wasn't surprised. If anything, she was relieved that Adesawa had finally voiced what had been written all over her face for weeks. Adesawa groaned and hid behind her hands, embarrassed. She felt silly, almost childish. But Amaka wouldn't let her drown in self-doubt. She reminded her of who she was: beautiful, smart, admired by thousands online, and respected even more in person. If she liked someone that wasn't foolish, it was human. Still, Adesawa's insecurities whispered louder than Amaka's reassurances. What if he doesn't notice me? What if I'm not his type? It was the quiet fear of every woman who had ever longed to be seen by the one person who made her heart race. But Amaka's encouragement lingered. The seed had been planted. Maybe it was time to stop imagining scenarios in her head, stop replaying daydreams of what could happen, and instead find out. That night, as they drove home, Adesawa sat by the window, city lights flickering against her face. Her heart was restless, caught between fear and possibility. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But she knew one thing for certain: when she walked into the gym again, she would see Toby. And maybe, just maybe, she'd find the courage to let him know. Adesawa had carried her crush for weeks like a secret flame, burning quietly but fiercely inside her. Every gym visit became less about her workout and more about the small moments she could steal. A glimpse of Toby at the weight rack, the sound of his voice greeting someone, the way his shirt clung to his frame after a set. She never said a word to him, but in her head, she rehearsed countless conversations. At night, her phone became her guilty pleasure. She scrolled through his Instagram, tapping through stories with her heart racing as if he could somehow feel her watching. She replayed his TikToks, half admiring, half imagining herself in the background of those videos. To her followers, Adesawa was the confident influencer, the bold fashion and fitness girl with over 500K admirers. But in her private world, she was just a woman hoping a man at her gym might one day see her. And then one afternoon she found the courage. She approached him, nervous but steady enough to get the words out. She told him she liked him. Simple, honest, vulnerable. But Toby's response broke something inside her. He thanked her politely, almost kindly, before telling her the truth she wasn't prepared to hear. He liked someone else. Not just someone else, her best friend, Amaka. And if that wasn't enough, he added the words that would replay in her mind for weeks. I don't really go for inverted triangle-shaped girls. I'm more into darker, thicker type looks. The sting was sharp, deeper than rejection. It wasn't just that he didn't like her. It was that he had reduced her to a body type, dismissed her beauty in favor of something he preferred. For a woman who lived half her life online, praised daily for her figure and looks, it was a cruel irony. When she saw Amaka later, Adesawa couldn't bring herself to repeat his exact words. Instead, she softened the story, telling her that Toby simply wasn't in the headspace to like anyone right now. She hid the humiliation, burying it under a forced smile. Because how could she tell her best friend that the man she had built daydreams about had chosen her instead? Adesawa thought things would go back to normal. She thought she could bury the sting of rejection under her workouts, her content, her carefully edited reels. But silence has a way of growing heavy, and secrets rot the foundation of friendship. How would she tell Amaka that the guy she likes her instead, and not for the right reasons, her body? It feels wrong. For weeks, she carried the truth like a stone in her chest. Every time Amaka laughed with her, every time they posed together for photos, every time Amaka scrolled through Instagram and said, "Toby liked my post," Adesawa felt herself shrinking. She smiled, she nodded, but inside she was unraveling. Then one evening, the truth came knocking in a way she wasn't prepared for. Amaka burst into their apartment, cheeks flushed, eyes sparkling. "Adesawa," she squealed, dropping her gym bag on the floor. "You won't believe this. Toby asked me out." The words hit harder than any weight Adesawa had ever lifted. For a second, she forgot how to breathe. She forced her lips into a smile, nodding as Amaka spun around the room like a teenager. Amaka was glowing, bubbling with excitement, saying things like, "I knew he liked me, but to hear him say it." Adesawa said all the right things. "I'm happy for you. That's great. You should go." But her chest was tight, her throat dry. Because deep down, she wanted to scream. She wanted to tell her best friend everything. What Toby had said about her body, the way he had dismissed her with casual cruelty. But the words stuck. She couldn't ruin Amaka's joy. And so the lie lived. Adesawa let Amaka believe that Toby had simply told her he wasn't ready for anyone. It was easier than saying, "He compared me to you. He chose you over me." Days turned into weeks, and soon Amaka and Toby were inseparable. They trained together at the gym, posted playful videos on TikTok, tagged each other in stories. Their laughter rang louder, their selfies multiplied, and every post that appeared on Adesawa's feed felt like a knife twisted a little deeper. She didn't unfollow. She couldn't. It wasn't just jealousy. It was something worse. Disgust. Disgust at the way Toby's so-called love seemed shallow, built on curves and shape instead of heart and soul. Disgust at how easily he reduced her, a woman who had built herself with discipline and resilience, to a preference. "Inverted triangle-shaped girls aren't my type." The words haunted her. The more time Amaka spent with Toby, the more distance grew between the two friends. They still lived together, still worked together, still appeared side by side in photos, but the warmth had dimmed. Their conversations became shorter, their silences longer. One evening, when Adesawa couldn't take it anymore, she finally told Amaka the truth. The words spilled out, shaky but raw. She told her what Toby had really said. That he liked her only because of her body. That he had dismissed Adesawa in the same breath. For a moment, Amaka just stared, her eyes wide. Then she shrugged, her tone flat. "And so what? Someone's always going to like you for something. For me, it's my body. And I'm fine with that." The casualness of it stung more than Adesawa expected. Her heart broke a little. Not just because of Toby, but because her best friend couldn't see the insult for what it was. Because Amaka, the woman she admired for her confidence, didn't think she deserved more than being reduced to a body. The rift widened after that. Subtle at first. They still went to the gym, but no longer at the same time. They still cooked meals together sometimes, but the laughter was gone. Soon they stopped even pretending. Amaka accused Adesawa of being jealous, of sulking because the man she wanted chose someone else. Adesawa didn't fight it. She didn't explain. She just retreated into herself, carrying her pain in silence. Social media, once their shared playground, became a battlefield. Every time Adesawa logged in, she saw Toby and Amaka posting together, gym selfies, playful skits, dinner dates. Every comment from strangers calling them couple goals made her stomach churn. She couldn't say it out loud, but she knew what was coming. She knew this wasn't real. Not lasting. Because anything built on shallow ground eventually sinks. But Amaka couldn't see it. Not yet. And so Adesawa watched quietly. She trained harder, worked longer, filled her days with brand deals and content. But at night, when she lay in bed scrolling through her phone, the ache returned. Not just for Toby. Not even just for Amaka. But for the friendship they once had, the sisterhood now cracking under the weight of a man who didn't deserve either of them. Time passed, and with it the shine began to fade. At first, Amaka didn't notice. She was too wrapped up in the thrill of being with Toby, the late-night calls, the gym videos, the way his hand rested casually on her waist in photos. To her, it felt real. Solid. A dream she hadn't realized she wanted until it landed in her lap. But Adesawa noticed. She noticed the small things. The way Toby's replies to Amaka's jokes came slower, the way his eyes wandered more often at the gym, the way his laughter seemed a little less full. Adesawa didn't say anything. She had already lost too much ground with her best friend. Warnings from her would only sound like bitterness. And then Chloe appeared. She was new to the gym, arriving one weekday evening like she had been sent by the universe to test everything. Chloe was striking, tall, dark-skinned, with curves sculpted like they had been carved by careful hands. Her confidence walked ahead of her, turning heads before she even spoke. Her body was almost a mirror of Amakas, only louder, more pronounced, as if she had been designed to draw attention. And attention she drew. Toby's especially. Adesawa saw it the first day. She caught the way his head turned, the way his eyes lingered a second too long as Chloe walked past the squat rack. She saw it in the way he adjusted his form, suddenly lifting heavier, his voice louder, his laugh brighter. It was the same script he once played with Amaka, now rewritten for someone else. Amaka noticed too, though she tried to ignore it. She brushed it off when Toby complimented Chloe's form during a workout. She forced a smile when Chloe joined their conversations after class, laughing a little too freely at Toby's jokes. But inside, something unsettled her. Days turned into weeks and Chloe became a fixture, in the gym, in conversations, in Toby's orbit. He denied it when Amaka teased him, brushing it off with lines like, "She's just a gym friend." But actions always speak louder than words. His gaze betrayed him. His energy betrayed him. And then came the day Amaka couldn't ignore it anymore. She arrived at the gym early, planning to surprise Toby. She expected to find him mid-workout, waiting with that smile she once thought belonged to her alone. Instead, she found him outside, leaning against his car, Chloe pressed close, their heads bent together. And then the kiss. Quick but undeniable. For a moment, Amaka froze. It was as if the world had slowed, sound drained from the air, and all she could hear was the pounding of her own heart. The laughter, the videos, the late nights. All of it shattered in an instant. She turned before they saw her, her eyes burning, her chest tight with betrayal. That night, she came home broken. She cried in their shared apartment, the sobs loud, shaking. And for the first time in months, it was Adesawa who held her. Adesawa who rubbed her back, whispered comfort, and let her grief spill freely. Adesawa didn't say, "I told you so." She didn't remind her of the warnings, of the shallow words Toby once used. She didn't need to. She simply said, "I understand." Because she did. In that moment, the weight of betrayal wasn't just Amaka's to carry. It was theirs. Two women, bound not just by friendship, but now by the pain of a man who had toyed with both of them in different ways. And that night marked the beginning of something new. Not for Toby, not for Chloe, but for Adesawa and Amaka. A quiet rebuilding. A recognition that no matter what men came and went, their bond was the one worth saving. Adesawa and Amaka changed their gym, leaving behind the memories that once weighed them down. They found a new space, fresh and free of ghosts, where every rep felt like a reset. Together, they continued to bag brand deals, their pages buzzing with more attention than ever. But they didn't just stop at campaigns, they built something bigger. They launched a body shapewear line that celebrated all women. Inverted triangle, hourglass, apple, pear, rectangle, and every silhouette in between. It wasn't about hiding flaws, but about embracing every curve, every edge, every body. Their friendship, once tested, grew tighter than before, bound not by convenience but by choice. They laughed louder, worked harder, and stood taller, reminding each other that women are more than their shapes. And as they walked out of the gym one evening, side by side, heads high, they smiled at each other. Because friendship, love, and self-love will always outlast shallow opinions, and no woman should ever believe her body is all she has. She is always more.
You love this story, don't you? If you want to hear more stories like this, make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. It really helps this channel. I'll see you in the next one.